Hey everybody. So after my last video, people were asking me to make like a tutorial on how to train your own model without using a really expensive GPU, because I guess not everyone can afford like a $900, at least at this point, GPU. I actually returned my GPU because it was a little bit flaky. I got from Amazon warehouse, so I'm in the same boat now. So I actually ended up trying to do new training on some other photos, and it actually was really, really easy, and it was really cheap. And so I figured, yeah, it would be a good idea just to do a tutorial real quick on how to do that. Before you get started, there's actually a few things you probably want to get ready before you start your cloud GPU. And that's just because if you start it, then it'll start charging you money. And so you probably don't want to just create an instance and then look for images and crop them while your instance is running, because the clock is ticking and you're paying for that. And if you actually get everything ready beforehand, it can cost like less than $1 to just train a whole model. And so here are a few things that you want to get ready before you actually start the process. So first off, you need some images. And so I think the recommendation is that you have about 12 images. And if you're a human, then you want to have a certain number where you're standing, like full body, and then a certain number where you're kind of head and shoulders, and then a few more that are like kind of close up on your face. And you want all these images to be a little bit different, because if you only have an image of you like staring straight forward, then all your images are just going to look like that. So you want a little bit of variety in your images. So today I'm actually going to train images on my dog, and so I'm not really sure exactly what kind of photos I'm supposed to use, but I figure a good combination of his face and him on like his side, and maybe like him rolling around on his back or whatever, so I can get a good variety of different images of him. We're gonna try doing some training on a corgi today. So first of all, yeah, you want to get your images, like put them all in a folder and get them ready so that when the time comes, you can just drag and drop and you don't have to do any other sort of extra work. So the next thing you also want to do is sign up for an account on runpod.io. And so this is just one of the many services that you can use to rent a cloud GPU instance. I didn't do really that much research. I just followed the instructions from this GitHub, and it said to use Runpod or some other one, and Runpod seemed to work pretty well, and it was pretty cheap. And I accomplished what I needed to the first time running it, so seems good to me. I included a link to my referral link, and so I guess if you sign up and use my referral link, then I can get more credit to train more things, but you don't have to. I don't really care if you do or not, but it'd be nice if you did. Okay, so another thing that you're going to need to do before you start training is to go to Hugging Face, which is the weirdest name. I don't know why it's called that, but go to Hugging Face and go to Stable Diffusion version 1.4. And here you basically will need to accept some kind of terms and services in order to download this model. I already did it, so it's not showing me that interface, but it shows you some text you need to agree to. I think it's like to not be evil about the stuff that you're going to do. I don't really remember because I didn't read it, but you accept that, and then you want to go into settings and then create a new token for yourself, or a new access token. And so you'll go to access tokens, and then you can create like a new read token, and then stuff. So you'll copy this, and then when you need to paste it into the notebook, you'll be able to do that. And then another optional thing you can do is get ready by signing up for some sort of cloud host. And so there's a number of cloud hosts that you can use to copy your final model from the Runpod GPU instance to another storage place. And the reason that you should do that is because I found that when I was trying to download directly from the instance, it was like super slow. And so it would have been like 30 minutes extra of just downloading. While that's happening, your credits are dwindling. And so I found it a lot more effective to just transfer it to something like Backblaze, or you can use like G Drive, I guess, too. So try and get that ready beforehand, and so you don't have to run around and try to get tokens and get all of your credentials ready before you actually start your instance. And I can show what I did with Backblaze. Okay, so basically, if you want to use Backblaze B2, I think it's free for like a certain amount of storage, and so it shouldn't cost you anything if you're just transferring like a 2 gigabyte model and then downloading it and then deleting it right away. It might cost you something, I'm not really sure. So anyway, you can just create your own bucket for this thing, and I just named it something like Runpod bucket 123, because I guess they have to be unique. So I want this to be private. I don't really care about encryption. I don't know what this means. So if I create that bucket, and then so then what you want to do is actually go to app keys and then create a new key for your specific bucket. And so I can call this, like, you know, throwaway key. And then you can just leave. Okay, so you can basically say you want this particular bucket. Read and write is fine. I don't know what this is, but I just clicked it, and then you create a key. And so after that happens, then you'll get this key ID and a key name and an application key. And so you want the key ID and the key name. You want to copy these, or just, like, you know, keep these around. And then when the time comes to download the actual model, you can paste those in, and I'll show you how to do that too. Okay, so now that we're done with all the prerequisites, basically we can start to create a cloud instance. And so you have a choice between Secure Cloud and Community Cloud. The first time I chose Secure Cloud, and I used an A5000, and that worked. It looks like there's not any available right now. But you want something that has 24 gigabytes of VRAM at least. And so I guess I'll go with Community Cloud. Second time I did it, I used an RTX 3090, and I think it was a little bit faster actually. So you can actually browse and then look for specifically RTX 3090, and then, you know, look for something that has enough RAM, like real RAM, and then is fast. So this looks like it might be kind of slow upload, and this one has good RAM, it has enough disk, and it looks pretty fast. And so this one looks like a pretty good one to choose. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with this one. So let's see. Template you can choose. I just chose Runpod Stable Diffusion, and then I bumped these up to like 60, 50. I think 60 is good. And then you want to be able to, yeah, start Jupyter Notebook. And so you go ahead and deploy this, and then go to My Pods. Did I go to My Pods? Okay, so now it's starting to initialize, and then once it's initialized, it's going to start charging you. So actually, we can see how much it cost me. So I have $8.94 so far because I did 2 other models. Okay, so now it's ready. You want to go to Connect, and then you want to open Jupyter Lab. And this will open a new window. And from here, you want to start a new notebook. And this one, you basically are just going to download a... you're going to just use this to download another Jupyter notebook. And so one thing is that the notebook for training keeps on changing. And so what I did was I'm just going to make a fork of that one and put a link into it. And so instead of using the real one, you can just use my fork, and then even if the other one changes, you can just use this one, and the instructions will be the same. And so you don't have to worry about, like, oh, this guy's changing this notebook like every 5 minutes, and so this video will be out of date by then. But if you use the same fork, then you should just be able to do the same things I did, and it'll still work even though they changed it. So let me go find the link for that real quick, and I'll go back to you. Okay, so I found my link. Okay, so I'll put this link in the video notes too, but you want to do git clone and then the URL. So this is my branch, or this is my fork of this git repo. And so what you want to do is type this in and then hit this play button, and it'll just go ahead and clone it. And here's like all the files that are here so far. I found that like this Runpod also has Stable Diffusion web UI already installed, and so it's actually running some stuff which I think we want to stop, because otherwise there's not enough RAM to run the other stuff. Okay, so this is finished. Once you see this number, that means that this cell is finished running. So we want to go to Dreambooth-Stable-Diffusion, which we just downloaded, cloned, and then open Dreambooth Runpod Joe Penna. Joe Penna is the guy who like knows everything about this. Okay, so then we can just discard the thing that we just made because all we needed it for was to download this other repo. I think I probably just could have done it in a terminal too. Anyway, so now that we're here, we can just start running some of these cells. And so this one we don't need because we already just did this. This one we do want. And one of the interesting things about this Stable Diffusion Runpod is that I think a lot of the requirements are already satisfied in the pip install. And so it saves some time from installing all these things that you don't need. And pip is just basically a way to install dependencies that you need for doing the training. And so once this is done, so if you see the star, that means it's still running. So we can kind of hide this. Okay, so from before when you needed to get the Hugging Face login, you're going to do that in this next cell. And so wait for this one to finish loading and then run this cell. And then once you run this cell, you are able to enter a token, and that'll download like the actual Stable Diffusion model. And that's what we're going to use to retrain to put all of our, well, in my case, a dog, into Stable Diffusion. Okay, so this is done running. Okay, so now if I run this, before I was seeing some kind of error whenever I ran this. Yeah, and when this happens, you just need to reload the page. And that should fix it. And everything else should still be around. So if I run this again, all right, so yeah, so here's where you want to put in your token. And so I can do that really quickly. Let me go find it. Okay, so I'm going to paste my token in, and I don't think you can see it. Yeah, and then I'm just going to hit login. And it should work. Did it work? I think it worked. Well, we'll just go to the next thing. So let's do play on this and see if it actually downloads the model. And yeah, it's downloading. Okay, so this takes a little bit of time to download sometimes, like a minute it looks like. And so while this is downloading, we can actually skip to the next part, which if you have a folder full of images, we can just upload the images directly to this notebook, and we don't have to do the stuff that's in here that says, you know, you gotta upload an imager and like do all this stuff. Like we can skip these steps. So basically what it's doing is it's just downloading the things that you already uploaded, and it's putting them in this folder called training images. And so what you can do is you can just like copy the name of this folder, and then just say that you want to make a new folder and call it training images. And this skips the whole thing about like uploading stuff to the Imager, because I don't want to upload all my pictures of my dog to Imager. You know, who knows what people are going to do with that. So then basically from here, so you can just drag and drop all of your images in here, and that's all you need to do for the images. Okay, so let me drag and drop all of the images I have of my dog, and there's actually probably too many, but you know, whatever. I found a lot of good pictures of my dog. And so you should be able to just drag and drop, and then after a while, you'll just see all your images in here. Yeah, so it's starting to upload. Okay, so while that's happening now, I can go back and see if the download is done, and it looks like this finished. And so next is to create these regularization images. I'm not really sure if this is actually like that useful, but you know, it's just something that people do. So I might actually just change this to 100. But since I'm training images of my dog, I'm gonna put corgi here, because corgis have like short feet and so, or short legs, and so I thought maybe you know, if I put dog, I might end up with like images of my corgi, except his legs are super long. So I'm just gonna use corgi. But this basically this is like creating a set of images to, I don't know, train against with your own concept. And so I'll just hit the play button, and this will just like generate a bunch of images. So that'll take some time as well. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna shrink this thing. And so while that's going on, I don't think I need to do this. This is just if I wanted to reuse these corgi images, I don't have to generate all of this again. But I'm just gonna train this one, so I don't really care. If you're training on a person though, you don't need to run this cell with the person. Some people have already pre-made sets of images, and so all you need to do is you can run this cell, and this will do like the same thing. It'll just get a bunch of person images and then put them in the right place. So you don't need to run both of these, you just need to run one of these. Is this still running? Yeah. Okay, so then this is the part that we skipped because we just dragged and dropped. And if we look here, I've got a ton of images of my dog, so we don't need to do this. So we can skip this step, we can skip this step. We're saving time and we're also saving some money, right? Because time is money, especially when you're renting a GPU. So once this next step is finished, or once this previous one where it's generating images is finished, then I can run this training cell. And I can call this something like, Project Soda Pop, because my dog's name is Soda Pop. And 2000 training steps is like pretty standard, so I'll just leave it at that. This I want to change back to corgi. And then this is the token that you're going to use. So in my case, it was Jackie Chan. But for my dog, I don't think there's any celebrities that look like my dog because there's no celebrity corgis, especially black and white ones. So I'm just going to say Pop Corgi. Because I think that's a pretty unique token and it's easy to remember because his name is Soda Pop and he's a corgi. So yeah, I'm waiting for this cell to finish still. I'm glad that I changed it to 100 instead of 200 because it's just making a lot of images. Let's see, how long does it take to make one of these? So it takes 5 seconds and I'm making 100, so that's 500 seconds. So how much is 500? That's about, is that like 10 minutes, 9 minutes? I don't know, I'm not very good at math actually. See here, so 100, yeah, 100 times 5, and then we got 500, so you divide it by 60, and oh, 8, this is gonna take 8 minutes? Alright, well I didn't have to do this before because I was only doing people, but maybe I'll just like fast forward this part because this part's boring. Actually, one thing I want to do too is that like I mentioned before, this Runpod actually has Stable Diffusion on it. And so it's actually running like a web UI right now. So while we're waiting for these images to be generated, one thing I can do is go into a terminal and just kill some processes that we don't need. And so what you can do is you can choose new and then terminal. And then you can type in PSAUX, and that shows you all of these processes that are running right now. And so the one that I want to kill is web UI because this is the one that is running the one that you can basically use to generate images. So what you need to do is type kill and then the name, the PID that corresponds to this process you want to kill. So in this case, I'd say kill 27. Issue command kill 27. And then let's see, I don't want to kill this one because that's the Jupyter lab. I think relauncher I can kill too. I'm not sure if it's really using that much resource though. Let's see, stable text to image pi. Oh, I think this is the one that's creating my images, so I don't want to kill that one. But I think I can kill relauncher. I don't know what this is. Let's just kill it. Okay, let's see what this is doing. This is still going. Okay, so I'll just probably fast forward because we're just waiting for this to finish. Okay, so it finally finished creating these images, and so you can see the numbers here, which means that it's done. I'm not gonna zip it up because I don't really want to. And I remember before we already uploaded our images directly, so we don't need to do all this stuff. So basically, we need to just go back down to this section called training, and then I already filled all of this stuff while I was waiting for those images to be created. So all I should need to do now is hit the play button here and start training. And if you didn't go into the terminal and kill some of these processes, you might run into an error. And so if that happens, just go into the terminal and run these commands, and then kill some of these processes that are using up memory and resources that you want to be using for training. Wow, there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, so what you want to see on the bottom of this huge thing of text is that it says epic, and then, oh, look, it looks like, oh, I ran out of memory? Try to allocate, let's see. Okay, so I actually might have not killed enough things. So let's do this again. And let's see what I can kill. Okay, let's kill this web UI. Kill 29. I thought I had killed that before. Okay, so it looks like that's good. Let's try running this again. It's actually good that that happens so you can see what it looks like. That's what I'm going to tell myself. Okay, so hopefully we should start seeing training happening, and then once that happens, you can kind of just let it sit for a while. I found that it takes about an hour to do the full training for 2,000 steps. Okay, so yeah, this is what you want to see. So basically what's happening is each step is taking about 1.26 seconds. That's pretty good. And so you're just going to do this until you reach the max number of steps that you set in this cell. And so it'll go for about 2,000. Sometimes it's a little bit more. I mean, I think sometimes it's a little bit less too. But generally speaking, it hits 2,000. And so you don't really care about the epic. You care about just how many steps there are. So once this goes for 1,000, then it'll just reset to the next epic. And so you can kind of keep track. But like if you see it's going to take about 20 minutes to do 1,047. So should only take about 40 minutes to do this whole thing. And then it's also going to create the model, and I guess that takes a little bit of time too. So after this is finished, and after this entire cell runs, the next thing you want to do is copy, and actually you want to shrink your checkpoint file. Actually, did it already do this? Oh, I think the oh, this Python notebook changed in the last time that I used it, which was earlier today. So it looks like maybe it shrinks it automatically now, so you don't have to do that. Okay, so let's just wait for this to finish. It'll take like 40 minutes. So I'm going to step away for a little bit. Okay, so I'm back from dinner, and it looks like we're probably almost done training. So I went through the first epic fine, which was epic 0, and now it's on epic 1, which is the second one. And so I'm thinking that since the first one was 1,047, it'll probably stop around 950, 953. But we'll just have to see. Sometimes it goes more, and sometimes I think it goes less sometimes too. But it probably won't go to 1,047. Huh? See, yeah, so it actually went more than 2,000 because it went 1,047 the first time. Not really sure why it doesn't do exact number, but I see that sometimes when I'm generating images too. Like I'll say the number of steps and it'll like go above it. Okay, so it looks like that was it. Nope, still going. Okay, anyway, we can just wait for this to finish. But the next step is something I've actually never done before because this notebook changed. I can read it really quick. So it looks like what it's doing is it's going to look in the logs, which is where the model is going to be saved. It finds the last file. Okay, yeah, so it finds the last time that you actually ran a training. Okay, so yeah, so here it's doing the last sample images. And then it looks like it renames it. I can't read the code because it's moving. It's just like hard mode. I can just close this. Okay, so looks like it basically just renames it and moves it to a directory called trained models, which it creates. And so this is similar to what it did before. So I'm just going to wait for this cell to finish doing whatever it's doing, and then run this next cell. Training complete, max training steps reached, or we blew up. Okay, that inspires a lot of confidence. One thing I noticed that it just always like crashes at the end. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so let's try to run this, and I think what's going to happen is it'll create a new folder. Was that it? Wow, that was fast. Okay, so if I look in trained models, here is the completed model. And so what I could do here is just download directly, but I found that it doesn't work very well. So if I try this, it's probably going to be really slow. I guess I could try it and just see. But it looks like it's going to take 6 hours. You can't see that because here. So it's going to take 40 minutes, 30 minutes. This is still a long time though. Like I don't really want to spend that much time paying for a GPU that I'm not using because I'm just downloading something from it. So I went ahead and I took the credentials that I had for the Backblaze thing. And there's also a way that you can use G Drive. And so the way that you would do this is actually you would open a new terminal like I did before. And then you would run these commands. So I can show you how you would do that, but I'm not going to do that because this seems a little flaky. Okay, so I'm not actually in the workspace. So what I have to do from here is do cd workspace, and then Dreambooth. So I'm going to change directory into Dreambooth, and now I can actually run the G Drive commands. So I'm doing a chmod so that I can actually execute this file. And then if you paste this one in, then it asks for like this, it asks you to go to this URL and like enter your token. And that just seems a little too sketchy for me, so I'm not going to do this. But if you wanted to use your Google Drive, then that's another way to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Runpod interface, and I've already put in my credentials here. I don't really care if you see them because by the time I upload this video, they're going to be deleted. But you put your application key, and then you put your application key ID, and then you put your application key, and then you put your bucket path. So this is just the name of the bucket that you created. So in my case, I think it was Runpod hang. And then you can choose a folder too, but I'm just going to put it in the root folder. And then from here, you want to paste in this workspace, and then the Dreambooth-Stable Diffusion, and then trained models. And the reason you want to do that is because if you don't, then you're just going to copy everything, which is probably going to be like 30 gigabytes. But if you say that all you want is this directory, then it's only going to be 2 gigabytes. So it's a lot faster. So hopefully this works when I click on it. Okay, wow, it worked. Other times I've had to like repaste and stuff, so I was actually kind of surprised that that worked. So this is actually really fast. See, it's going like a lot faster, 17 seconds versus like 30 minutes. So you save a lot of money. I mean, you save like 15 cents or whatever, but you know, 15 cents is 15 cents. So basically, it's gonna copy this over to my Backblaze bucket. So actually, I need to show you how to get to this interface because I kind of shortcutted there. So I'll show you that. But once this is finished, I can show you what I did to get to that screen. I just wanted to get stuff ready because I don't want to pay. Okay, so this is done. Almost. Okay, so it's done. So that means that now the model is in my Backblaze bucket. So basically what I had to do was I had to go here and click on Cloud Sync. And then you get all these options. So, you know, if you want to, you can use AWS, or you can use Azure or Backblaze, Dropbox, or Google Cloud. I tried Dropbox, but I wasn't able to get it to work. I tried to make an application key, and it was kind of annoying. So then I just went to another thing. You can always use G Drive as well, but the one I chose was Backblaze. And then you click Copy to Backblaze. And then this is the screen that I was showing before with all my keys and stuff that I probably shouldn't have shown you. Okay, so anyway, once that's done, you can actually just stop this instance now, because otherwise the clock is ticking and you're spending money. And so look, if you look at this, like $8.59, I can't remember exactly what it was before I started, but I'm pretty sure it was like $8.90 something cents. And so this only cost me like 30 or 40 cents to run this whole training. So now I can stop this. And then what you want to do is also you want to stop it again, because otherwise it costs money, I think, for you to have this around, because the storage is still yes, I think it's still costing me money. So you want to trash it because you're done. If you want to do like another training too, then you theoretically you could put new images in and then change the parameters around if you wanted to. But for now, I'm just gonna terminate this pod because I just don't want it anymore. And that's basically it. Okay, so from here I can go to my Backblaze bucket, and I see that my training is done. And so basically all I need to do is download this, and this is going to be super fast because it's from Backblaze. I don't have to pay every second that I'm downloading it. Yeah, it's going to take like 2 minutes instead of 30 minutes or something. So yeah, that's basically it. At this point you have your checkpoint file, and so what you can do is you can use some web UI, and you just paste your model in there, and then you use the token that you used to generate your new images. And if you don't know what that looks like, you can check out my other video previously where I was showing all of the different prompts that I was using and all the sort of different images that I could create from my custom model. And I think I will probably go into a new user interface to show you what that looks like, just so I can prove to you that this actually worked. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. So I have this web browser set up with web UI for Stable Diffusion, and I've loaded my custom model. And so I'm going to type in a prompt. And so I'm using pop corgi because this is the token and then this is the class, and that's what they say to do. And I want it to look really, really cute. And so let's see what this looks like. And this is a little bit slower because I'm using a cloud instance instead of my regular one. Okay, he looks like a little bit derpy here, but I can see my dog in that. I might need to increase the number of steps maybe. But for the most part, this is working. The hard thing about making images of my dog... Okay, he grew another leg. That's cute. The thing about my dog is he's a cardigan corgi. He's not a Pembroke corgi, and so they're a lot less common. And they come in black and white. And so if I try to make an image of him, it's just really hard because it always kind of reverts to, the tan and white corgi that the former queen had. And so this one's pretty good. And so I'm actually pretty happy about making this new model, because now I can actually make new images of him. I can make this into a watercolor maybe. And it'll be a lot easier to get my dog into some of this art that I want to make. And so if you really enjoy this video, then please go ahead and like it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. And then I guess there's a bell too, so you can like hit some bell. That's kind of abstract. And I guess it notifies you if, there's a new video. Like some people talk about the bell. I don't know what the bell is. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. I'm going to wait for this next one because I want to see what it looks like. But you can stop the video if you want. Oh, now you're glad you kept the video on. Okay, that's all.